Hello. Welcome to the live stream. We are here with Gwen and we are ready to go. So, this week's live stream is on laughter, grief and laughter. It's two terms that don't initially seem like they should go together, really,
No,
right?
not at
But
all.
honestly, I think laughter is such a help in your grief. It is such an
Mhm.
amazing, wonderful way to release emotion.
Yes.
And
And
I
it's
mean,
so
in a
close.
lot of different ways. And I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to talk about some ways that I kind of do that in my professional life as a pediatrician later. So remind me to talk about that. But I want you to talk about what made you kind of
Okay.
decide to have this as our topic this week, because I think this was something you wanted to kind of delve into.
Right. And I don't remember why. I mean, I probably
Yeah.
could look at my notes because I just
Oh,
wrote
that's
it.
okay.
So it just came into my head. I don't remember why, but I do remember overall why I talk about laughter. It's because, like you said,
Yeah.
it's so close to the same kind of release sometimes that crying is, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we can do both. We're crying and then we're laughing, and then we could be laughing and then all of a sudden we're crying. And so I've done, different research and different things about laughter. I just told you, I mean, there's many Bible verses about laughter. And so I have this theory about laughter, um, and it's good for your soul. I mean, it
Yeah.
is good for us to laugh. And Proverbs 17:22 is my favorite verse on laughter because it says, a crushed spirit dries up your bones, but
Hmm.
laughter is good medicine. And it's like, no,
Oh,
none of us want crushed, dried up bone.
no.
And maybe I wrote it down because I feel like, we talk oftentimes about how depleted we are, or um, boy, I can't even remember our topic last time. It makes me wanna look of why I, like, wrote this
Why you went
idea
to this?
down,
Uh-huh.
but, yeah, yeah. Um, so, I mean, I can ramble on about it, or we can just go from there. I think that before I stop talking, the one thing I just in my research of laughter, and you as a physician know this, I mean, it actually increases your immune system. It's good.
Hmm.
It lightens burdens, it reduces pain, it's a muscle relaxer, and it boosts your blood flow. So it's physically good for us to do it.
Yeah. It is. It is physically good for us to do it. I
Mhm.
was just going to bring up, so in when I treat kids obviously all the time. That's what I
Mhm.
do as a job as as a pediatrician. And a lot of times I talk to kids that get really, really overwhelmed with their feelings. Like the
Mhm.
negative feelings are overwhelming, especially if you see kids with ADHD, they can tend to get something called emotional flooding, okay, where they're just flooded with emotions and their executive functioning doesn't work. You just can't think properly because you are so flooded with emotion. And I've talked to different experts, like especially on ADHD, they talk about trying to kind of snap a kid out of that if they
Mhm.
are in one of those cycles where they are just can't think logically and they're just mad or they're sad or whatever the negative emotion is. You've got to find a way to kind of break them out of that. And one of the best ways to do that in a quick way is by making them laugh. So the woman that I had
Mm.
talked to said she had like a funny dog video or something that always would make her laugh and that would make kids laugh. And that would be something that like she'd just keep available on the phone. So when things are getting really overloaded, you look at that. Okay. And I have a funny story of a kid that I had in my practice, and he got really mad. He was like 7, and he got so angry and upset, and he just couldn't think logically. And his parents were, of course, had been trying to talk him down, which you can't do when kids are kind of got to this state. And he actually said, I'm so mad I could eat a can. Okay. So I'm so mad I could eat a can. Well, that's a ridiculous statement, right? And it made his parents laugh, which made him laugh, which totally snapped the whole cycle. And now he's much, much better all the time. So, we started talking about that episode and how
Mhm.
that snapped him out of it. And I said, okay, we're going to come up with a strategy on when you are feeling really overwhelmed and upset and angry. What would you think if your parents said, "Are you so mad you could eat a can?" And if of course, he started giggling, and
Mhm.
that's what they started doing. They started using that. So instead of
Yeah.
trying to talk him out of his emotions or do something like that, they'd say, "Are you so mad you could eat a can?" And pretty much always he would laugh, and that would snap him out of it. And I always think
Yeah.
have thought over time that in general, when kids get overwhelmed like that, dads can generally do a little better job sometimes getting their kids out of that cycle than moms can, because I think naturally a lot of dads like to use laughter a little more. And the mom is trying to talk out the emotions and try to figure out what's going on and try to problem solve a little bit. And the dad is just like, well, whatever, and just will make the kid laugh. So a lot of times I had kind of noted over time that dads seem to be able to get to work with those kids a little better. And I really think it has to do with laughter. Think it has to do with using that positive emotion to kind of flip everything on its head. And I think the same could be said with our grief. When we are feeling
Mhm.
really, really overwhelmed in our grief, that if you can use something like laughter, it can just snap things out of it and just be a release and kind of bring you back and
Oh,
reground you a little bit. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
I
that's
couldn't
one
have
thing I
said it
want to
better. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. It's like a redirect almost. And not that we're saying, oh, replace your grief with laughter and just ha ha
no, no.
ha. It's not that. It's when it's so overwhelming. And if we keep carrying the heaviness of that, sometimes you just have to set it down and go, I need to think of something different. I need to
Mhm,
get my brain in a different spot and I need to laugh. And for me personally, my job is very heavy. And so I have to work sometimes on not being a heavy, serious, oh my gosh, people die every moment of every day. And when am I next? Or who am I? So
yeah.
I have to think about the lighthearted other side of life.
Mhm.
And
Well, and I think
to
back
be able
to
to laugh at ourselves.
oh, I was just gonna say, I think back to when we started Starlight. Obviously, I started going to Starlight. You were there at the time.
Mhm,
And I think of that very first group we had. And those sessions were heavy. They're heavy sessions. Although there would be
mhm,
moments of laughter in the sessions, each of those sessions.
mhm,
But then
mhm,
we as like a group, we're a big group, a lot of bereaved parents, but there were four of us sets of parents who lost kids when they were kids. So we lost children as opposed to the other
mhm.
parents who all had lost their children, but they were adult children. So I think it was a little bit different when your kid is in the home than when your kid is at the home. So those
Mhm,
four couples were a little bit, I mean, I think we just kind of understood each other a little better. So, and
mhm,
we're a little younger, more the same generation. And so we decided to have a game night.
mhm.
We got together socially and did a game night, and it was amazing. It was so
Yeah.
fun. I laughed and I cried, and it was such a relief to be able to do both with people that I felt safe to do that with.
You just said so many things in one sense. Like that is so um I'll work backwards. Feeling safe, feeling like you are not going to be looked at or judged if you're laughing
Yeah,
because they get you. They're your people. They're part of that same clan. Um and then, if it turns into crying, that's okay too.
yeah,
I love that because when I worked for 20 years at a funeral home, and some of the funeral directors would say, well, it doesn't sound like a support group in there because they're laughing a lot. And they would kind of like, you know, think that if we had laughter coming from support group, that I wasn't really running a support group. Um, and I like it's so vital, like it's so important. And a lot of the programs that we do sometimes for people who are lonely, I'm thinking of more widows than bereaved
yeah,
parents. We do more social things like have, bingo, or that's why they have those um activities that are social to get them in a different frame of mind out of their own, loneliness or what they're into. But I feel the same way for bereaved people, that you need to
yeah.
find your clan that you can do that with.
Well, I think you've shared this story here before, but the very, very first time we met, You remember the first time we met and you told me
I do
about a
remember.
hayride? You told me about a hayride that was coming up, and
Oh.
you said, "I don't know." I said, you said, "I think it's probably pretty early. I don't know that
Mhm.
you'd want to go on a hayride with other bereaved parents."
I
And
remember your
I
answer.
yeah, well, because what was my answer?
You said, "I really don't feel like going on a hayride, but bereaved people are the people I'd wanna go on a hayride with right now."
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
I did because it's like
Mhm.
if I was going on a hayride, it was going to be that hayride. Like I
Yes.
don't know if I'm going to be able to go on any hayride, but I'm not going on my
Right.
church hayride this year. I'm not going on any other hayride. The only hayride I could go on would be one with other bereaved parents.
Right. Yes,
And I'm
so
sure,
much
and I don't
so.
think we did go, to be honest, but it was, I mean, I'm sure there was laughter. I'm
Mhm.
sure there was.
Yeah. Um, can I just say something to you that's not about laughter, but that I've noticed that
Yeah.
people have gotten on and gotten off? Do you think we're having
Uh-huh.
difficulty? Has anyone messaged you to say they can't see or hear us? Because I'm wondering why just we have 0
I
people.
don't know. I don't know. I
Okay.
was trying
I
to
just wondered.
to
I wanted
ask.
you to check your phone because sometimes your friends will say, "Hey, I was
Well,
just trying to be, observant."
I know. I know. And I'm not sure why we're down to nothing
Okay.
right now.
All
Um,
right. Well, if we have to redo it,
because
we'll
Eric
redo
was
it,
supposed
but,
to check and make sure it was working on Instagram, so he
okay.
can see if it is. I can
Okay,
ask him.
perfect. Um,
Um,
but yes,
and then
that
obviously I can edit this off later, but you're right. No one's on right
mhm,
now, but I can edit it out for Monday.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
yep, it's glitchy. Apparently, I just got a comment. It's glitchy. We're going in and out.
mhm,
That's not cool. Okay.
yeah.
Oh shoot.
I could see the wheel spinning on both of ours, so it wasn't just my internet, it was both of ours. Did you have, like, where it was catching up? So I noticed that. Um,
I noticed you lagging a little bit. Was I doing it too?
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Internet says
Well,
it's good, but
oh, there's the comments. Oh, it's glitchy.
Eric was supposed to try to see if it was working on Instagram, and he said
Okay.
he's too dumb to know how Instagram works. So my guess is it's not working on Instagram.
Is he
We're
trying to
gonna
make us
see when
laugh?
I go over here. We're gonna go here
I'm
and press a
I'm
button.
pretty sure that's not a word to describe him, but maybe challenged with Instagram. Um, well,
I
and
don't know.
that's
I put it in.
you wanna talk about something funny? I
But
literally, our last, this summer, we both shared about going, overseas and going to Greece, is that how many people like, you need your phone to travel, right? But how many
uh-huh.
people our age are sitting somewhere going, pushing, 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 and it's like all the young people just shaking their head like and it's like, you don't have to smack your phone that hard. It's almost like when someone's hard of hearing or, someone is maybe appears old, you scream at them or make assumptions. I think they assume I've watched older people that if they smack their phone really hard, that it's going to work better. um, so that was just something that
Oh,
made me laugh that I would and now just pay attention when you're somewhere where there's a bunch of old people and even my mother-in-law will say, I can't get that picture to get bigger. And she's just smacking it. And
okay.
like,
Well,
all right.
looking at it,
Um,
it says we are live on Instagram, so I don't know.
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Um,
says we are. Eric can't see us though, so maybe other people can't either. He has no idea what they're doing. So it says
oh,
we're live on all of these platforms.
and
Okay,
Demi, said, I don't see you on
on
Instagram."
Instagram. So maybe it didn't work. I
Mhm.
don't know. It clearly
Um,
doesn't work, and which is too bad because I had a lot of people say they're going to watch that way. So
yes.
they're not going to watch it that
Um,
way if it's not working. I think I
here's
need to
the
make a
other
trip to
piece
Toronto and
that
maybe she
what I
can
was
give
just
me a lesson on how to do things.
oh, take me with you.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Okay. So back to our topic of
because,
laughter.
oh, there's so many thoughts I have. Okay, so, here's the piece, like, um when something happens, like let's someone's not tech savvy or something happens, you can decide to laugh about it or you can look for that. So rather than me thinking that I was the only old person on this trip, I just laughed by watching all the other old people on the trip too try to figure their way around, right? Like laugh
Yeah.
together with them rather than just taking it on myself. But sometimes when we are searching for laughter, and we need to search for it. Like I really believe I tell people you have to go find it. It's not just going
Yeah.
to come knocking on your door. Is that for some people you have to use props and you have to try to figure out how to get silly. Now, I'm not someone who necessarily could sit down and read a 101 joke book and find that funny. I laugh
Okay.
more at like real life kinds of experiences. So if I had a choice
Uh-huh.
between staying home and watching or, reading a joke book or going to a little kid's soccer game, I'd probably go to the little kid's soccer game because I will tell you what, when you mention being a pediatrician, kids will make you laugh,
Oh my
right? I
word,
mean,
yes.
they're the best.
Oh my gosh. I can tell you what just happened the other day. I can tell you this funny story. So I'm seeing a 2-year-old, okay? And she's very precocious and she has an amazing vocabulary. Okay. So her parents are wanting to kind of show off, I think, how much she can understand and talk. And they said, and oh, and she was holding this really cute caterpillar. And I said, oh, that's a fun caterpillar. It's like rainbow caterpillar. Where did you get that? And the mom said, we got that on our trip to Mackinac Island. And then she said, what else did we see on Mackinac Island? And of course, the little girl was supposed to answer horses because anyone here in Michigan
Mhm.
knows that Mackinac Island has no cars. It's all horses and buggies. But the girl looks at me and says in a very loud voice, poop, saw poop on Mackinac Island.
I'm like, I'm
Yes,
sure.
you
Yep.
did. Yes, you did see poop because there are a lot of horses and there's a lot of poop. Anyway, it makes me laugh. The
Uh-huh.
kids are so, so funny. So,
Oh,
anyway,
they
you're
are.
right.
And I when yeah, um, I was just thinking of a trip that we took and, our one daughter turned 16, so the other one would have just been gonna be turning 18. So they were teenagers, and we went to the UP and we did, the kayak trip out, at Pictured Rocks, and we did things. Well, on the way home, my husband decided that he wanted to stop at this fish hatchery. And
Hmm.
2 teenage girls really don't wanna stop at a fish hatchery, but, and if anyone's been there, it's in Thompsonville, I think, Michigan, but you get out of your car and it has, like, little steps that you take to find the fish, and, we're following all these little steps from the parking lot, and every building we went in, no fish. 0 fish, and it was just one of those days where they just didn't have anything in the tanks. I We
Uh-huh.
never saw a person. I mean, all the buildings were open and there was water, but 0 fish, and my husband didn't wanna give up, so we went to every single building, 0 fish, and, I mean, the 2 teenage girls, you could just cut the tension with the knife. They're like, "Oh my word," and in the back of the car, we're driving out, and, a family's driving in and a whole van of kids get out. My daughter rolls down the window and says, "Don't waste your time. There's not a stinking fish in there." And she says, "Hurry up, dad, pull away." And just like, there's no fish. So, I mean,
Oh,
from then, I mean, she's gonna be 28. That's 10 years. When we talk about going somewhere, it's like, well, but is it really what it says it is? Like, is it really a fish hatchery if it has
right.
no fish? Um, so you can
Oh,
take something like that, and a lot of you have that in your families that you take one thing and then it becomes that family joke or it becomes that, piece. But,
yeah.
one of the the other things that I would encourage people to do for a prop that's very funny is oops, I'm buffering now. Okay. Um,
Yeah. It's okay.
some people find that, going on YouTube going on YouTube and, watching pet videos or funny videos. I have myself had a really bad day a couple years ago, and I was just sitting here and I'm like, "Oh my word, this is so heavy." And I just Googled, um, good, clean, funny things on YouTube, and I just got sucked in for an hour and I laughed till my stomach hurt. Now, I didn't write any of them down. I didn't,
Yeah.
and I wish that I had, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and I think too, it sometimes those little distractions are really, really helpful when you're having a bad time. I mean, all of you know that the month of August is really hard for me. So those are some
mhm,
things that I do. Peter sends me things that are funny, and I send him things that are funny, and that it just kind of helps us to be able to, I think, be a little bit better, get a little bit of that tension off. So I think we should
yeah.
go through the questions that I
What
posed. So, as you
yes,
know,
well,
I did. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Gwen. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
no,
No. Oh,
no,
okay.
go ahead.
All right. So, what I I tried something different. That I posted videos of myself asking the questions, which was very uncomfortable for me, but I did it anyway, and to see if we got a little better response. And it really didn't help, but we'll see. If we keep doing it, maybe it will. So our first question that I posed last week was, um, okay, now I've got to see what it was because I'm gonna have to listen to myself to see what it was. But it was, oh, do you remember, Gwen?
Um,
You sent
is
it
it
to me.
yes, is it hard to find laughter in your grief?
That's right. Is it hard to find laughter in your grief? So, um, first of all, I we had a response from Lee who wrote about Josh, and she said Josh had the most infectious laugh, and our home has always been filled with so much joy and laughter. Since his loss, it's been
Mm,
difficult to find either. Our little puppy Maple encourages some laughter and joy, and for that we are grateful. But it sits alongside very heavy sadness. We are only 14 months, and it's extremely difficult to contemplate a life without Josh with us. One thing that's been told to me when I speak about Josh, my whole face lightens up and I have the biggest smile. So I love
mm,
that. I love
I
that
do
response.
too.
Hmm.
Because on Facebook, Carolyn said almost, something similar. After 7 years, I smile and enjoy laughter when I'm remembering our sweet Jimmy. At first, remembering the laughter and the funny moments really hurt my heart. But you get to a point where you can look on them with, where it fills you up more than drains you, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and then somebody else wrote, sometimes we laugh because things are so ridiculous. For that reason, you can find laughter in grief. And that is
Right.
definitely true.
Yes.
That is definitely true.
Um, yes. Well, yes. And even laughter, the ridiculousness of even what people say to you, you can, if people
Yes.
say, well, you have 3 other kids. I mean, you almost have to laugh at that. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's the most ridiculous thing. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
told that story about when I was with Peter and Peter had his blood drawn, and the blood
Oh,
draw
yeah.
lady says, when he's she asked if he had any brothers and sisters, and he said he paused forever because he didn't know how to answer the
Yeah.
question because it was only maybe 6 weeks after Andy died, and he then just came up with, I have a sister. And she said, well, you don't sound too happy about that. And I said, well, he had a brother too, but he died 6 weeks ago in a car accident. And she responded, well, you've got to look on the bright side.
Yeah.
And we didn't laugh at the moment, actually. We
Yeah.
just kind of looked at her weird. And I don't think any of us said anything. But actually, as
Mhm.
soon as we left, we walked out, and through the first set of doors, I said, well, that was about the stupidest response I've ever heard. And we
Mhm.
laughed. We both laughed because it was ridiculous. And it
Yeah.
was really stupid and awful. And I bet she felt like an idiot for saying it. But I mean, you had to just laugh at it because it was so dumb.
Right. Oh, very much so. Um, oh, I've had so many things. I have to write them down when you're talking that it's just, oh, yeah. There's somebody else, Trisha said, I'm less than 3 years into my grief journey. I remember in the earlier days, it was comforting to laugh with my son's friends as they shared lighthearted stories about him.
Uh-huh.
And I think sometimes I've had families tell me how good it feels. It's not necessarily like that they're all funny, but it's that feel good feeling when people are talking about your child, right? Like, oh,
Yes.
it's like eating it up. It's so good for us. But then she said, but there was and still is an underlying ache that coincides with the laughter. I used to feel guilty about my laughter, but now I just feel sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I think
Yeah.
I really, really those things are hard. I
Yeah.
still have a really hard time with like Andy's friends. I mean, that's just difficult for me. And some
Yeah.
I know need it and cherish it and love it, and others it's just too much.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I feel like I'm a little more in the latter category, but I mean, I still do try to see Andy's best friend, Yoni, on occasion, and it's good for me, but it's hard for me. That's all, everything
Yeah.
I would say. Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then, is it Demi? No, we say her name wrong, don't
Yeah,
we? What is
yeah,
how do you
no,
pronounce it?
we got it.
Oh, it's
You got
Demi,
it.
okay.
Uh-huh.
I feel very guilty if I laughed and someone hears me as I feel they are judging me. I find it easier to laugh with other bereaved parents and friends. There is no
Hmm.
judgment. And we talked about that already, but I wanna go back to putting those 2 things together as far as laughter is that we have to find our people that we really can laugh with, and we've already mentioned, like, um, bereaved parents, want to be around other bereaved people. But I also think
Hmm.
we have to find our friends who are the friends who make us there's certain people you just laugh around. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
that
I
bring
know.
that out in the relationship. And I tell people, if you haven't been around your funny friend in a while, you need to do that.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
haven't seen them, like, you need to do that, and, mine are from my 3 childhood friends, from the UP, and I already shared with you, I mean, it's Suicide Awareness Month, I've been traveling a lot and speaking,
yeah,
and I had 1 day with them in between a Thursday speech and a Saturday speech, and we were up in the UP and just spent the day together, and it was so good for my soul because we laugh. We
yeah,
laugh, we laughed, we laughed, and I needed that, and then they're like, "Oh, I feel so bad that tomorrow you have to go speak in front of 200 survivors," and it's like, yes, I am very sad for those people, but thank you for today. Like, I wanted to not, think about
yeah.
the sadness that was facing me the next day. I wanted to soak in what I had in front of me today.
Hmm.
Um, I
Well,
want
and
to
somebody wrote a
address,
comment in too. Troy wrote a
yeah,
comment. How can I get happy when my son passed away 4 years ago? And and
okay, and
that is, go ahead.
yeah, I wanna address that, and I do, know Troy. It's not with this laughter part, we're not talking about getting happy as the overall feeling. I think,
Yeah.
that's not what we're talking about as bereaved people going, "Oh, we're gonna replace our grief and you're gonna find happiness." He had multiple losses as well, and there's just a lot of things that are going on. So I think to realize that happiness is probably an emotion that's not gonna stay with you for a
Uh-huh.
long time as you work through this. What we're talking about is moments of
Yes.
laughter,
Yes.
moments when they happen that you can rejuvenate your body, your immune system, your muscles, your blood flow because it's good for us. That's what we're talking
Hmm.
about.
Yeah. I absolutely 100% agree. We're not talking about overall like, oh my gosh, you just have to decide to be happy
Yeah.
again. I've had so many people, guests that I've had on the show over the years now, whose friends tell them, well, you just have to decide to be happy. Like, that's just as
Mm,
simple as that. And they just need to make that
mhm,
choice. That's not what we're talking about. Because
mm,
honestly, that is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement to say to
mhm,
any person or any person going through struggles in life. That is a
mhm,
really not sensitive thing to say. It is not just a choice. Okay. I've had people
mhm,
say that to me and it just irritates the heck out of me. But what you're, again, we're talking about having moments of joy, moments of laughter, moments that you try to help it get a little bit lighter,
mhm.
just to kind of help get an emotional release.
Right. Exactly. And, I did a video last week and, 3 people that I know, 2 in my own personal family, and then somebody of a friend's son, that rang the cancer bell last week. My sister finished radiation, my sister-in-law did, and then this young boy got to do it on a big stage, on TV for the SEC Nation at a halftime of a football game. The Children's Hospital in St. Louis has, them ring the bell. And I'm thinking, this concept of we never get to ring the bell on this side of heaven when we're bereaved it's never over. We're never free of that. And so I think that's the concept we want to get out, is that there's no bell to ring to go, wow, I'm not going to feel those feelings anymore.
Yeah. And then Troy wrote some other comments too. I don't know if you want to go through those too a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know he did. I didn't see his.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Tina. It's Tina wrote comments.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. I read a 4-letter T name and I just got it wrong.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to read hers?
No, go ahead. You're fine.
I try and get together with my son's friends on the anniversary day and birthday. I love them so much, but I always wonder what could have been, and it often takes me a few days to overcome the emotional damage from seeing them. It's been 6 years, and they've all grown up. I just wish my son could have had this life too. I'm so sad. And Tina, I would agree that that's not some place that you're going to find the lightheartedness. That equals sadness to see them, living these lives and having stuff that your child does not have.
Right.
Yeah. I get that that's a very sad thing.
And then, I mean, those are things that you have to kind of weigh out. What are helpful to you and not helpful to you overall. If it's more helpful for you to be able to do that with those friends every year, okay. But if at some point in time it feels like that is too much for you to do, you don't need to keep doing it. I'm reading a really great book now. I'm interviewing this guy tomorrow. So it's called A Million Stages of Grief, and you're going to hear from him in a few weeks when we're on. But I loved when he talked about in a chapter with you do things to help yourself to feel better, but you don't have to kind of promise that you're going to keep doing that forever. You don't feel like you're letting somebody down or anything if it ends up that it's a week of feeling horrible afterwards and it's not bringing any sort of peace to you to do that, then don't do it. I mean, and I'm not saying that this is or isn't for you at all, Tina, because there might be enough that's positive that it makes it worth that week. But, I think about it. Right?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And what I was going to say, that I teach on grief and have a chance to educate people. There's things that help us and things that actually hurt us. And sometimes things like you mentioned that started out as a help become a hurt and they don't serve us well anymore. And it's okay to say that's not serving me well.
It's hard to do. I think it's hard to make that decision sometimes.
The other thing is friends can be a linking object, right, to your child. So it links us that he did live and did have friends. So by not having a relationship with their friends, sometimes people feel like they've lost that link and that connection.
Right. And if that is helpful, then you keep it going. But kind of arguing both sides here a little bit.
I love what Laura said.
Yeah, I'll read what Laura said.
Okay.
My family is together in honor of Luke, his 2 older brothers, and my husband and me. We always end up laughing. This last birthday, my oldest son was telling us about a time when Luke burned a pair of underwear in the driveway with a magnifying glass. That is really awesome.
Yeah, but what's really funny is she wrote with a magnet. She's like, no, with a microscope. Whoops.
No, with a magnifying glass.
With a magnifying glass.
Like, 3 different comments. But
3 different comments.
I am giving her the whole thing that it was obviously with a magnifying glass at the end. But I love that. I love that they were able to kind of get some laughter out of that. Because those are hard days. Well, those are really hard days.
Yeah. And something else that just brought up was that, have you ever laughed at an autocorrect I mean, she had to have
Oh,
3 magnet microscope to I mean, I I was with my mother-in-law and 3 of her friends. They were actually at Starlight helping fold the newsletter, and they're just older ladies in their late 70s, and my mother-in-law was telling them that my husband had ducks when he was a kid, and they had the swimming pool and all these ducks, and she said, "Oh, he had the cutest names for them, but I don't remember." So I texted my husband and said, "I'm here with your mom and her friends, and they want to know what you named your ducks when you were a child." And it autocorrected ducks to a male body part that starts with a D.
oh
He
no.
said- I mean, so forgive me, it's probably off colored, but I mean, I laugh so hard at that autocorrect. Like, why are you talking about that with my mother and her friends? I'm like, no, you're ducks. You had little ducks. And so, we have some funny autocorrects too.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
you mentioned earlier when you said August was difficult and then
Hmm.
Peter sending you some things to keep it, you said it's kind of good for us. And I wrote that down like, no, it's more than kind of good, right? Because one of the statistics about laughter is, or the studies show, that you are 20% more effective if you laugh at lunch, 20% more effective in the afternoon when you go back to work if you laugh at lunch. So, what some of these,
Really?
yes, some of these studies have shown that if you are in a work environment, so we're thinking about this in a work environment, but I'm going to transfer it to grief in a moment. In a work environment, if you spend your lunch hour and it's what we call a crab fest, where everyone's just crabbing
Okay.
about their job and how much you hate everyone, or, just, oh,
Yeah.
this, oh, what happened this morning and that patient came in, or, whatever that is, then that carries with you in the afternoon. So you need to make a decision that says, let's not talk work. Let's talk other things. Let's be lighthearted so that we can be more effective when you go back. Some of you in the audience may know that you've been in a support group that has a very negative leader or has a leader
Uh-huh.
who isn't in a good spot. And we're none of us are perfect. And I don't want anyone who leads to think, oh, am I not, able to lead if I'm still grieving? I don't believe that. What I'm talking about is someone who is really in a rut of, we're in support group because we're here and we're never going to get better and nothing's ever going to change.
Yeah.
Don't stick in a support group like that. It's just
Yeah.
not good. It's not good. If you don't feel
No.
a little bit better when you leave, now again, listening to other people's stories, there's going to be nights that are heavy. But overall, I mean, I had a man come to a group that I was teaching a couple weeks ago, and he came in, and I could tell by his face how difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just in the depths of pain. And when it was over, I said, "Now don't let the pain of tonight keep you from coming back next week." He said, "The pain of tonight? For the first time, I feel encouragement that I might actually make it. I can hardly wait to come back next week."
Yeah.
And it's just that little bit of there's hope.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, I just don't want people to be around too many people that drag you down because you don't need that in this time. And if it's part of a group that's unhealthy, that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It can
Yeah.
be really hard.
Mhm.
Okay, Gwen, you have a pet question here too. A question
I do.
posted
I see
live.
that from Troy that his son would have been 18 in October 22nd. What's the best way to celebrate this? Um, I have so many ideas, and we could talk about that for a long time. And I will reach out to you personally, Troy, and talk those through with you. But I think what I've heard from most people, and you've talked to more bereaved people, or it's not a
Yeah.
competition. We equally talk to a lot of bereaved people, so I want you to chime in on this. That most of the time it feels good to do something that was important to that child or that they liked, like eating their favorite food
Yeah.
or going to their favorite places. Or the key thing, Troy, is to plan something and not just to pretend like it's any other day.
Yeah. To be intentional about it, but to be
Yeah.
flexible too, that
Yes.
if
Yeah.
what you planned ends up not working out, that's okay too. It's okay to
Mhm.
change plans, but I do think trying to be intentional about it is is important, and it's important, like you said, to acknowledge it and not just treat it like every other day. We
Yeah.
usually try, we always have bundt cake. They always have birthday cake, bundt cake.
Mhm.
We do different things. A lot of times Andy's birthday's in April, so a lot of times we'll try to golf. So this last year, we obviously, August is a hard month. So August 15th this year was the 7-year anniversary of his death. And um, we were all together. And a lot of times we will golf, like I said, but my daughter was around and and she does not golf. And we have in the past, she's ridden with us, but I just want to make her a little more involved. And so they decided that the best way to do that to honor Annie was for us to all go play miniature golf. So we played
Hmm.
miniature golf together. We went to one of his favorite restaurants up north. I feel like we did one other thing that I'm not remembering right now, but we were very, very intentional about
Mhm.
doing things that we thought he would have really liked. Right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
as we're competing against each other, playing, miniature golf, we're, wondering who Andy's cheering for and, making him feel like a part of it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's great. I also want to share, one of my friends was a guest of yours, a long time ago, early on, an early episode, but she on, his birthday goes on a mystery trip with him, and she puts as many dollars as he would be old in an envelope and goes out to find someone to give that to. So for Troy,
mhm.
it'd be $18 in an envelope, and just look around and then she writes in there, like, this is in memory of my son. He would have been 37 today. And I just, wanted you to have this. Or it's just kind of like something she does. And she talks to him and says,
we
show me where you want.
we have another mutual friend that does that, actually, that does
Okay.
birthday cards with
Oh,
the dollar amounts. Hmm.
that's awesome.
I think you know who that is too. But yeah,
I
so
don't
she
know.
hands that out, and we've traveled before, and so she's gone down into Ohio and given them away, and she's gone to different places. So,
Yeah.
and she just hands out birthday cards and has
Yep.
that. So that's a really cool thing to do too. I like
Yeah.
that. Hmm.
Yep. Well, and isn't there one of one of our listeners who's her son loved movies, so she gives out movie tickets?
Ah,
Yeah.
same friend, same
Okay,
friend.
okay. All right, all right. I'm like, "Oh, I'm starting to ring a bell." I mean,
Yep,
people can
yep,
get really
yep.
creative too. Like he or she loved going to movies, and so I can give this,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. I
Hmm.
hope that
Hmm.
helps you, Troy, and I will reach out to you because I know those days are really, really hard. And 18 I remember when Andy would have been 18. That
You remember that day? Because we
Yeah,
did a podcast interview.
we did.
You
We
were-
did.
you can listen to that one, Troy, but that won't make you
Yeah.
happy. I can tell you
No.
that, because I think I cried the entire episode. You interviewed Eric
Mhm.
and I think
Yep.
that day.
Yep.
I cried. It was a hard one. It was a really,
Yep.
really hard one. I
Yep.
think it's just called Andy at 18 or something,
Okay.
something like
So you
that.
can look that up.
If you go to the podcast by category under the ones with
Right.
Gwen, it's
Yeah.
one of those.
Well, and
I
again,
will still remember that. In fact, I have to tell you, I got an email not too long ago from a woman who had just gotten to that episode, because she started at the beginning,
oh,
and
uh-huh.
she said, "I want to tell you, I just listened to the 18th birthday one."
Mm,
Hmm.
wow. Well, and you said it's not going to make you feel good, but going back to that man that I said I met last week, coming to support group or listening to your sorrow on
Yeah.
that day is not going to make him feel good, but it will give that hope and that connection that I'm not the only person who feels this way, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm not alone in this. We need to look around and know that other people are walking the same road that we are, and not that we.
Well, and I've said so many times, mine is not a podcast that you can binge, because I feel like, well, who would want to binge that podcast? And yet people do, because it
I
does
know.
in general make people feel better, even when it doesn't seem like it's overly,
Yeah.
upbeat.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like we try to do a pretty good mix, I guess, to try
Yeah.
to have as much positive but being real and being authentic, and
Right.
to the
Well,
negative stuff too.
here's uh, here's something that I share when I talk about, like overwhelming sadness all the time. So years ago, it was in 1992, I think, if I got to look it up, they had a world gathering on bereavement. okay? And
Mhm.
it was in Seattle, Washington, I believe. And everyone who's anyone was there. I mean, the names of people, I mean, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, there were all these people, and it was the entire week of, just talking and training and work learning from these great minds, and everything was about death. Well, whoever coordinated it, and I hope they're not listening, but they would have on the lunches and the mealtime, they'd have a little card like this, and it would say
Mhm.
homicide, or it'd say stillbirth or anger, or so when you sat at that table, that's what you were to talk about while you ate. So here I am for an
Oh.
entire week learning all this stuff, hearing all these things, and then at lunch and dinner while you're eating your chicken with pine nuts on it, you're supposed to like talk about
Yeah.
death some more. So I was not even 30 years old at that
Okay.
time. And all these people who are way smarter and have all these books and all these people, and I'm just a little social worker from Michigan who loves bereaved people. And I wrote, I scratched out whatever was on the table, and I'd write your best vacation, your funniest
Yeah.
wedding story, the funniest thing
Yeah.
you've ever heard. And people were flocking to my table. By the end of the
Yeah.
week, there were lines of people like, oh, and we have to remember life is also beautiful. Life
Yeah.
is also good. You can study grief. You can help bereaved people and walk beside bereaved people. You can be in the depths of pain yourself and enjoy a sunset and
Yeah.
go to a wedding and go, wow, that was quite the,
Yeah. Whatever.
whatever you said. Yeah. Like I was going to say a word, but then I've already been inappropriate, so I won't share that. But one woman at that table talked about a bride who fell out of her dress. Let's say the
Yeah.
top wasn't so secure. So um, but just having other things that we can talk about once in a while that just,
Yeah.
yeah,
That it's
to
not
add
so
a
heavy.
little bit. Yeah.
Mhm.
We probably should get to some of those other questions too.
Yeah. So the next question was, who can you laugh with? And I posted that at 10 o'clock at night, which was a big mistake on my part, and no one answered anything because I think no one listened to that one or whatever. But I think we've
Yeah.
covered that a little bit. I think we've talked
Well,
about that.
but I hope the people listening, and when they listen, when the episode comes out, that you can identify someone. And like I said before, if you haven't seen them in a while, call them up and say, I've identified you as my funny friend and I need to be with you. Like I just need some time with you. That is just good for us. We need to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think about our bereaved, my bereaved moms group that we have our little retreats, and we've gone to 3 now and are planning our 4th one. And there are, certain people there that are just the ones that kind of make you laugh a little bit more. And it just wouldn't be the same without them. You know what I mean? So, and all those women are safe women
Right.
for me to laugh with.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I always feel like that's for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that had they written,
well, and that brings up,
answered that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got
the other
another
interesting
question
thing
too.
that
Did you want to go into the last one or no? Or do you want to keep going
Sure.
on this one?
I was just going to say though, when you said that about, can you hear me?
Yep. I know it's kind of going in and out a little bit, but I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So people who you laugh with, I was just going to say something. Oh, I know that sometimes in families, one of the hard adjustments is the person who died was the funny one.
Yeah.
And people say our family gatherings are so boring without them because they were the life of the party. And there are certain people that I look at in my life and I think that's how I identify them. They're the ones who keep things lighthearted and fun. What would it be without them? Yeah. Because you can always count on them. Yeah. In those moments. So yeah. the third question then was a funny story about your child or a funny story in your grief journey.
Uh-huh.
I
Just tell us
I
something
have
funny.
one.
You
Okay.
got one? Go ahead.
This was from Nancy. She said this story comes from one of the nurses. We had this really cute video of Alexander in the bathtub right before he was diagnosed at 8 months old. We showed it in to the doctors. One of them was talking about it, but they were also talking about one of the teenage patients. One of the interns in the room was so confused and couldn't understand why we were talking about a teenager in the bathtub. So misinterpreted who they were talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, the last ones were just tell us something funny. So if anybody's on here now and they want to share a little funny story, that'd be awesome for you to put it down there. I really love that Laura did that earlier with the story of Luke and the magnifying glass catching the underwear on fire. So if anybody else has something funny to share, that would be great. I also do I wanted to talk a little bit more about a couple other things. One is that I'm going back to Luella's Lodge for one of those retreats, and those retreats we talked about are so healing because you do have times that you laugh and times that you cry and a lot going on. And so amazing and wonderful. So Luella's Lodge is located in east central Illinois, and there's one spot open. So there's somebody is not going to be able to be there at the retreat. I'm going to be the host mom. So if you want to come for a weekend at Luella's Lodge, you can go to luellaslodge.org, and it's in 2 weeks. So the 20 something of September here, 20, I think 5th, maybe 25th through 28th of September. So anybody that's interested in that, you've got one slot left. So, go ahead and contact them and see if that's still open. And then there are other things that I wanted to talk about. So, we started this sponsorship, Gwen. Remember how we started this sponsoring an episode? Yeah. It's been just amazing. It has been so amazing. And I just love the people that have been writing in. I've got a lot of former guests that have written in, a lot of other people that are writing in that just don't really want to share their story, but really would like to share their child's name and a few words. And especially when it's during a time that's really precious. So I was trying to be very methodical about just doing one each episode. But then what happens is I get like 2 or 3 at a time, and then I plan them out a ways, and then somebody comes in and they kind of want a certain date. And so I think I'm going to be a little less picky about that. And so some episodes may have 2 people that we talk about in the sponsorship, and then there we may go 3 weeks without anybody, and that's just kind of the way it's going to be. So anyway, that sort of happened this week, in that I have one mom that wrote, Karen, and she wanted to sponsor an episode in memory of Alexandra. So I said, we're going to do this episode. And she wrote that she lost her precious daughter, Alexandra, on September 20th of 2020. And her birthday was September 8th. And she wanted to sponsor an episode near the birthday. And so I said, I think this one will be perfect. So this episode is in memory of Alexandra. And then Lisa wrote back. So if any of you remember, so Lisa was on for her daughter. For her daughter, Kate. Okay, I'm just bringing up an email. So that's why I'm taking a little bit. So her daughter, Kate, they have Kate Kaplan Day. They are down in Florida. And so they are having a special day for her. And so she wanted me to read something like this. So Kate died of a mucinous ovarian cancer, which is a really aggressive, rare cancer that affects younger women. Kate was just a very young woman, just in college, and it doesn't respond well to chemotherapy. And they're having a walk for the mucinous ovarian cancer, and there'll be a swim meet, both in honor of Kate Kaplan Day on September 21st. So she wanted us to do this date because September 21st is right around the corner for that walk. Yeah. And I was writing to her. She was so impactful to me, listening to Kate and Kate's story, and listening to obviously Lisa talking about Kate. But she was just an amazing young woman. and I wanted to make sure to talk about her here. And then I also wanted to do a little shout out because Percy's mom was just on a few weeks ago, and Percy's grandma decided to give an extra donation in Percy's name. So
Oh,
even though we just had an episode, got to do a shout out to Percy's grandma and another little shout
oh,
out to Percy. So we've got that. And again, I just am so incredibly thankful to have these
mhm,
donations now. It means so much to me and has just been able to help me in a lot of ways. And you know
yeah,
something else, so just going on along with that. So I also have these Be Still bracelets, you know, like my Be Still
mhm.
bracelet that I have. I think you have one. Haven't I given you one, Gwen?
I
You have
do.
one.
Yep,
You do.
absolutely.
A lot of people do. And so I've been handing them out more. I hand them out to kids at the office. I hand them out to bereaved moms. I hand them out all the time. They had a walk the day after the anniversary of Andy's death. There was a walk, and a lot of people at my office, I asked if they could sort of walk in memory of Andy too. I wasn't there because we had gone away to be alone as a family during that time, but it ended up like 20 some people wore
Oh,
that bracelet, and it's it's meant so much to me that first of all, it's kind of able to do that and feel like I'm going to be able to buy more bracelets so I can give them out a little more
mhm.
liberally to people. Um, but the number of people that I've gone into work that are just wearing those bracelets now on a random day has meant a lot to me. So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like
that's
that
beautiful.
partially has to do with these sponsorships of episodes too. So anyway,
Mhm.
I just wanted to get those things and be extra thankful for all of that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. So many ideas of, having days and walks in memory of, but the jewelry or just knowing that other people are thinking about your child or participating. And like I mentioned, the survivors of suicide this month are doing so much for, mental health and awareness and walks.
Mhm.
There's many ways to get involved and to help others and help yourself. So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's beautiful.
I
But
know
let's go back
you,
to laughter a little bit.
yes,
That was a little
right.
bit of an aside,
Yes.
but
Well,
I wanted to make
that's
sure to give that proper time. I didn't want to just save
that's
it to the very end.
That's what I was gonna say. I know you've heard this before because I shared it in a presentation that you and I did together when I was talking to the medical field about, how we can prepare the pathway for healing. And I said, you are human and we do laugh and you need to laugh. And so, when I sat at that table and wrote, share the funniest thing that you ever heard, um, I often share the funniest thing that I ever heard that just sticks in my head. So I'm going to share it now. So in case someone needs a chuckle, they can listen to this. But
Okay.
so my husband and I, after, having years of infertility, and we hadn't experienced the death of any of our babies yet, but we were having our firstborn son, and I was teaching 3 and 4 year old Sunday school, and I was very pregnant. So I told them that I wasn't going to be their Sunday school teacher because I was having a baby. And one little boy looked at my belly and he looked at me and he was so sad. And he said, my mom can't have any more babies. And I said, she can't. And he said, no, she just had her boobs tied. Obviously he didn't hear the right word, and I thought, oh, ouch, she she had her boobs tied. um, that was so cute. He was just so
Oh.
sincere and so sure that he knew exactly what she had been through. But yep.
And this is why, as painful as it sometimes is to be around kids when we are grieving kids, because I know that,
Oh
um,
yeah,
but they can be so healing too because they do make you laugh. They really
they
do.
do. They're just good for
Mhm.
your soul. The things
Yeah.
that, I mean, one of the ones I was sharing the other day because my son is the oldest and then he has two little sisters, and he, the girls, when they were wrestling or playing around, he called his privates his forbidden zone, like you're forbidden to hit me there, whatever. He called it a
Yeah.
forbidden zone. But our youngest daughter, she didn't know what forbidden meant. And one day she said to me, Mommy, do I have a 4-pin zone? It's not a forbidden zone, it's a forbidden zone. And yes, you do. But so we often laugh at that. You just have those things in life that when I know all of you do about your children, your living children, your, people in your life that you can just look back and have that chuckle, right? You have that. And sometimes we need to live off those, right? Like they just kind of help us through a difficult time. So I just want
to
encourage.
Nice that now I can think of funny stories of Andy, because gosh, I can think of so many funny stories of Andy, and they don't automatically make hurt.
Yeah.
And for a long time they did. Like every story, as funny as it was, wouldn't be funny. It would just hurt. And so that is a bit of hope that hopefully it can give people for the future, that I think hopefully at some point down the road, you'll be able to think of those funny stories, just as Laura shared the story about Luke. And I'm thinking of funny stories about Andy, that you can have some laughs again with your kid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gwen. I think we will plan our next podcast. I've got an idea about that one that I want to run past you, and I may just do it here. Is that I told you I was reading that book, and one of the chapters in the book, he talks a lot more about some of the smaller, unexpected emotions of grief. And we've done some topics individually. We've done anger, we've done guilt, we've done those types of things. But I think I would like to do one on what emotions surprised you in your grief, and just little bits about them. Like he had mentioned envy as something that he didn't expect in his.
I just wrote that on my paper.
Did you?
I said, because that's the number one surprise thing from people.
I'm only going to say one. He has actually several in there, but I'm going to try to do better about in the weeks ahead to try to put those questions out a little bit more, and seeing if I can get people to write in their ideas of different unexpected emotions that they had, so we can try to talk about several of them and how, ways to kind of work through some of those things. Sound good?
Yeah. That sounds great. It's always fun.
So that'll be coming up in a few weeks, and I will make that announcement a little quicker this time, and we'll see about how we promote it, but hopefully we can get more people on. Thank you.
Sounds great. Bye-bye.